My 6-year-old son, Kamin, has started to say to me, Mommy, I know you don't have to tell me. Or as my sister in Jamaica said, her son is saying, Mommy, trust me, na man. Me know. So if your child has started saying any of these and more, this is for you. It can feel dismissive, right? Here you are, just trying to help, then suddenly you have a know-it-all brushing you off to the side. It cuts deep. And then suddenly you have a mix of frustration and anger that makes you want to either do the unthinkable, to lecture, to even shut down because who is the adult here in this room? But as you know, with us healing parent, there is always that, uh, but. The but is that this is a sign that they have stepped into a new stage of growth, an area that can really trigger us as parents. Now, between the ages of 6.5 and 10, children are building their own sense of competence. Psychologists talk about this stage as children wanting to think, decide, and do for themselves. So you might find yourself yelling, shouting, or talking a lot while subtly wondering, where did my little angel go? But I promise, that is still your little angel. The only difference is that they are not little ones who just take everything that we say. They are starting to build their own sense of identity, confidence, and autonomy. When they say, I know, what they're really saying is that, Mommy, Daddy, I just want you to see that I am capable. And sometimes underneath it, what they're saying is, I want to show you that I am competent, but I don't yet have the words, the maturity to express myself respectfully. And here's where it gets tricky for us as parents. If this push for independence makes us flare up, anxious, or shut down, it can mean that we're struggling with the fact that our own voices were not honored during this stage of our own development. So maybe every I know moment we had as children was either punished, mocked, or silenced. So when our kids do it, it is pushing up against those unhealed wounds inside of us, hence the trigger. Before we go any further, let me be very clear. Not every reaction we have as healing parents is about trauma. Sometimes a situation is called for a firm no, or our sharp tone is exactly what that moment requires. We'll look at that balance a little later. The key is learning to notice, is this about my child's behavior, or is this about something that is unfinished within me? When this first showed up in my parenting, I felt that rush of irritation. And my gut reaction was to lecture this child about respect, listening, and showing some gratitude. And my deeper thought was, look at this ungrateful child. Because I heard that a lot while growing up. You're being ungrateful. But when I paused and took my deep breath, I realized that I was reacting to more than just my son. I was reacting to the little girl in me that said, I know, but was never trusted. The next morning, instead of saying, if you knew, you would have done it, I took a different approach. I asked, what's your plan for getting all this done before school? Let me tell you, my son's face lit up like a Christmas tree. He started telling me his amazing ideas, but was it perfect? Absolutely not. But was it his? It certainly was. And with him responding and taking autonomy and stepping into his sense of self, he got what he needed done without his nagging mother saying, go pick that up. Why is that there? Come in. So instead of crushing our children's natural desire for independence, which will serve them very well in their adulthood, we can choose a different path. We can guide from the side. This is not trickery. This is not manipulation. This is wise parenting. You don't always have to hit the nail on the head. You can tap it. It's honoring their natural need for independence while teaching the lessons they think they know but don't know that they don't know, which we need to help them know. Once again, let me be very clear. Balance is key. There are going to be situations where autonomy is simply not an option. For instance, crossing the road. A firm hold my hand is what's needed in that situation. Touching the hot stove, it's a firm do not touch it. And in family life, we also teach shared responsibility. For instance, everyone pitching in to clear the dinner table. So, parents, it's not about giving into every I know because you want to create space for your child to be independent. It's about choosing carefully when to guide indirectly and when to hold the line. Because structure and shared responsibility is one of the key elements for keeping a home grounded. Here's what that balance can look like in your morning routine, for instance. So instead of saying, put on your shoes and socks right now, the more indirect approach would look something like this. What's the last thing you need before we actually head out? Maybe around homework time, instead of do your homework, you phrase it into a question. What subject are we starting with today? And if you're like me and you're still struggling with your child leaving their clothes on the floor, instead of pick up your clothes, your room is a mess, you may want to ask, where does your clothes sleep at night, honey? Now, each of these open the space for them to act while you maintain the structure that you need within your home. However, in those big safety and shared responsibility moments, we lead directly and do not apologize for it. So if your child is saying, I know, notice what rises up inside of you and ask yourself, is this about them or about me not being able to say those words safely within my own childhood? Because if we meet this stage with fury and anger, we risk doing the same damage that was done to us. So instead, we're going to meet it with patience, awareness, understanding, and most importantly, wisdom. Hence, we give our children the freedom that they need while maintaining the structures that are important for their growth. Now, that's cycle breaking, and that's how healing happens. Because always remember, what we give to our children, we in turn give it back to ourselves. That's the work of parents who heal. Now, drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you hit this I know stage in your parenting? I love to hear your stories. And if you're new here, subscribe and join our Parents Who Heal community. You can do that via the WhatsApp link, or you can also join our amazing mailing list where you can get weekly insights and tips about parenting while healing. We are growing together one stage at a time.